when the swarm of opinions and screens crowds your mind before your feet even touch the floor? Do you ever long for a filter strong enough to keep the world's haze from clouding the day? Listen to the still corridor of dawn. Rose, gold light creeps across rooftops, breeze cool as spring water brushes your face. And the hush of sparrows signals a sacred beginning made for cleansed vision. The one who spoke galaxies into being now stoops to be your guarded fortress, pure river, and holy guide, gifting you quiet resistance against every counterfeit glow. So you lay politics, deadlines, and secret doubts at his feet, asking him to sift every desire until only goodness remains. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Psalm 51:10. This ancient plea reminds you that purity is never self-made, it is bestowed, sustained, and protected by unfailing mercy. What burden could you entrust to his care right now? And what hidden hope do you dare to let him refine? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the radiant journey of this morning together, one choice at a time. As dawn paints the eastern rim of the sky, you open the window and let the cool hush baptize your face. Every dust mote drifting through that shaft of amber reminds you how tiny particles can blur an entire pane. In the same way, lingering grudges, idle scrolling, and sly comparisons settle on the lens of your mind until truth appears distorted. Yet this morning, you choose cleansing. You imagine your spiritual eyes as clear glass held beneath a living stream, each swirl of water rinsing away yesterday's smudges. The Creator offers a gentle ritual pause. Inhale, exhale, and let His word wash over you. Your word is a lamp to your feet and a light to your path. Psalm 119:105. Light is more than insight. It is antiseptic, burning away illusion and fear so that reality stands luminescent before you. With that promise echoing, you invite Him to spotlight hidden specks. Envy that flared when a friend succeeded. Resentment shelved behind a polite smile. The subtle pride that shaped a conversation. As each fleck surfaces, you refuse shame. Instead, you hand it to the one who already bore every stain. Visualize Him polishing the mirror of your perception until you can see His reflection shimmering back. You notice how clarity alters everything. A neighbor's barking dog no longer registers as irritation, but as life proclaiming itself. The backlog of emails transforms from an iron mountain into individual opportunities for service. Even your own reflection in the glass shifts. Rather than cataloging flaws, you detect the quiet miracle of being fashioned in divine likeness. And because sight governs movement, your steps adjust. You walk slower, noticing the veins in a leaf, the way morning vapor curls above your coffee, the tremble of a waking sparrow. This uncluttered vision becomes a sanctuary no crowd can invade. Still, you recognize how swiftly grit returns. The day will fling advertisements, arguments, and endless images seeking room in your eyes. To stay clear, you establish checkpoints. Tiny liturgies every hour. When a screen lights up, you blink twice and whisper, filtered by grace. When a headline rages, you lift your gaze beyond the ceiling and recall the wider skyline of eternity. If a conversation turns vulgar or jaded, you picture a river running between the words and your soul, allowing goodness to pass while sediment sinks unseen. Purity of sight is not passive. It is a vigilant partnership. Just as a lighthouse keeper scrubs salt from glass to protect the beam, You steward attention so the light can travel unbroken through you. You may fail, spray will dry on the lens. Storms will spatter mud, but the keeper never tires of cleaning. He is faithful to complete what he started. So you begin the day blinking in newborn brightness, grateful, alert, eager to behold wonders small and grand that were always present but once invisible. Now, bearing eyes rinsed by mercy, you are ready to notice miracles hiding in plain sight and to reflect them back into a dimming world. As sunrise settles into steady gold, you feel the freshly rinsed vision descend into your chest, where a quieter battle waits. Your heart, thumping oracle, hidden command center, collects every image your eyes receive and assigns it meaning. If the chamber stays open to every wandering echo, even a whisper of gossip can ricochet into bitterness. So, before the city fully stirs, you invite the king to station sentries along the ramparts of your inner life, their shields glistening like dew, lit leaves and their spears tipped with truth. Picture a walled garden on a cliff above restless surf. Ivy climbs the stone, blossoms perfume the air, yet iron gates stand firm against intruders. That is the architecture heaven offers you now. Beauty protected by strength. Keep your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. Proverbs 4:23. Guarding is not withdrawal but stewardship. The locks secure the well so living water can still reach every thirsty traveler. Around those gates swarm messengers of the age. Notifications, controversies, curated envy. Each knock arrives coated in urgency. You pause, breathe, and ask, does this serve life or drain it? When the answer condemns, you let the clang of refusal echo. Saying no becomes a holy allocation, your limited capacity reserved for eternal things. In that discipline, stray memories lose their poison, and the H of yesterday softens beneath mercy's salve. You shield the heart through rhythms as ordinary as tying shoes. A breath, prayer with each step to the kitchen. Filter me, Lord. A hand over your sternum before opening a browser reminds you that algorithms must bow to the authority of love. Music brimmed with hope displaces idle commentary. The simple act of sipping water between meetings turns into a sacrament of slowing. Whenever anger flares, you lift an invisible barrier, peace settling like mist between stimulus and response, until flames die unlit. Yet vigilance alone cannot sustain defense. Fortresses require supply lines. Streams of gratitude keep the moat full. You rehearse thank, use for lungs expanding, for bread browning, for a friend who remembers your name. Gratitude swells until it overflows the battlements, drenching potential offenses before sparks ignite. Meanwhile, prayer becomes patrol. Brief check-ins where breaches are reported, reinforcements dispatched, tactical wisdom received. Over time, the atmosphere inside your walls shifts. What once felt cramped with suspicion now opens into halls of steady light where joy walks unafraid. Guarded, your heart begins to pulse outward rather than inward. Compassion flows untainted. Courage stands undiluted. Decisions emerge from clarity, not fear. You notice how quickly a smile travels when it is free of hidden agendas, how firmly a promise holds when forged in uncorrupted motive. And you recognize a deeper miracle. The God himself is also guest, dwelling within the citadel he protects. His presence is both rampart and fellowship. So you step into the morning, carrying an unseen fortress beneath your ribs. Whatever headlines flash, Whatever voices shout, they meet walls mortared with eternal assurance. Behind those walls, living water keeps rising, ready to irrigate thoughts, words, and choices yet to bloom. And as purity streams from this guarded center, you prepare to let it sculpt the very syllables you will soon release into the world. Breath curls from your lips like faint mist above a forest stream. Every syllable that follows will ripple across someone else's sky. With sight clarified and heart secured, your voice becomes the next frontier of holiness, for sentences can build bridges or wage quiet wars. You run fingertips over your throat and feel chords fashioned for blessing, not corrosion. So before uttering a single greeting, you pledge your tongue to the author of language. Let the words of your mouth and the meditation of your heart be acceptable in his sight. Psalm 9:1-3 in acceptance. Here is not polite permission, but joyous delight. Speech tuned to the pitch of heaven, resonant with kindness, restraint, and truth. Imagine each word as dew bead on spider silk, shimmering yet fragile. Once fractured, it cannot be gathered again. To protect that delicacy, you form rituals. The first silence. When the kettle hums, you wait 3 slow inhalations, allowing thoughts to sift like flour until only nourishing grain remains. The second savor. You taste your sentence in the mind before you serve it aloud, asking whether it carries courage or clamor. The third, surrender. If sarcasm lurks, you release it like chaff on the wind, trusting the Spirit to replace it with gentleness strong as cedar. Throughout the morning you rehearse this choreography in ordinary exchanges. A hallway hello becomes liturgy of affirmation. Eyes meeting, posture open, tone warm as fresh bread. While composing messages, you prune extra thorns, passive jabs, hidden boasts, wistful complaints. Each deletion feels like clearing underbrush so sunlight can reach saplings. Even digital icons come under sanctification. An emoji previously tossed with indifference now receives precise intent, lest ambiguity sow confusion. You discover that pure speech is not sterile, it is vibrant with life. Compliments carry texture, specific, sincere, unencumbered by ulterior motive. Questions become wells you lower into another soul, drawing up stories rather than extracting data. When hard truth must be spoken, you cushion it in humility, as mountain paths are edged with rope to steady climbers. If conflict erupts, you answer softly, like rain taming wildfire, remembering that volume rarely converts hearts. Occasionally, impulsive syllables escape the guardhouse. Perhaps a sharp retort during traffic, a hurried dismissal of a colleague's idea. Instead of spiraling into shame, you pivot to confession lightning fast, filtered by grace. Then you repair. A whispered apology, a corrected statement, an intentional listening moment turns fracture into fertile soil, where trust can sprout thicker than before. Purifying speech also tunes your inner dialogue. You monitor private monologues, noting how self-laceration mirrors gossip spoken inward. When you catch the phrase, "You always fail," you replace it with heaven's verdict. You are being perfected. This interior refinement keeps public words from bearing hidden poison. Slowly you sense how language alters atmosphere. A meeting grows lighter, tension lowers shoulders, a stranger's guard drops. You realize your voice is not merely sound but conduit, an unseen wire carrying divine current into circuitry of the day. At dusk, when conversations rewind in memory, You hope they shimmer like lanterns along a river, rather than echo like clanging gates. And if they do, the filter-worked truth traveled unmarred, and every listener felt the hush of eternity brush their ear. Now, having placed a bridle of gentleness on your tongue, you are poised to let choices themselves reflect the same purity carried by breath. At mid-morning, the sun no longer blushes on the horizon. It stands sure and bright, casting crisp edges on everything you see. This clarity invites decision. Every breath bends the day toward one of two gardens, one seeded by impulse, the other by obedience. You feel the tug of familiar paths, piloted habits paved by culture, algorithms, and appetite. Yet your rinsed sight and guarded heart whisper that another road glimmers just beyond convenience. Choose this day whom you will serve. Joshua 24:5. Choices daily worship. Each option offered becomes a small altar where loyalty is declared. You begin with ordinary pivots. Spoon poised above sugar, you pause. Sweet comfort or the steadier energy of fruit. Fingertip hovering over the news feed. You ask whether scrolling will sharpen compassion or dull it. In a meeting, the chance to claim credit arises like low-hanging fruit. You tilt the branch toward a colleague, letting humility taste first. These micro acts braid into a larger current, steering you downstream toward holy intention before larger rapids appear. Soon the current carries you to crossroads more complex. A friend requests a listening ear when deadlines snarl. Generosity wrestles with scarcity. You remember that the God within your chest dwells in superabundance, and you schedule the call. Later, an advertisement flashes a shortcut to status. You feel your pulse quicken, yet recognize the thinness behind the promise. Sliding the window closed, you breathe, filtered by grace, and the ache subsides like foam retreating from shore. Holy choices do not float in abstraction. They anchor in rhythms that sustain resolve. You draft a simple rule of life, morning scripture before messages, gratitude before grievances, rest before resentment. You post this covenant on the refrigerator not as legalism, but as lanterns lining a forest trail. When fatigue threatens to extinguish resolve, you lean on community, sending a brief prayer request, accepting a timely verse, letting accountability steady your gait like a staff in rising wind. Still, purity in decision does not guarantee ease. Sometimes righteousness feels like swimming against a stark current. Peers may label caution as naivety, silence as weakness, generosity as waste. Yet you recall the gentle weight of divine approval, heavier and sweeter than any applause. You picture a seed germinating in darkness. Invisible yet alive, holy choices often sprout unnoticed until a season passes and branches burst with quiet fruit. Trusting that unseen timeline, you press on. As afternoon light slants warmer, you scan the hours behind you. A pattern emerges, a patient response here, an honest confession there, a reclaimed moment of worship in the grocery aisle. Each tile clicks into a mosaic that, from heaven's balcony, spells fidelity. You realize that holiness is not the absence of color, but the full spectrum strengthened by light, every shade untainted by grime. Grateful, you bless the thresholds ahead, evening traffic, family dialogue, tomorrow's unknowns. You know grit will still gather, arrows will still fly, but the filter remains. Therefore, you lay hand over the knob of the next door and step forward, trusting that the keeper of your heart will keep guiding every turn, until the last dusk fades into endless dawn. The afternoon hum builds like a hive, alerts buzzing, billboards flashing, voices layering until silence seems an endangered species. Yet you carry a sanctuary within, framed by rinsed eyes, a guarded heart, purified speech, and choices aligned with light. Now comes the larger test. Can you walk through the marketplace of headlines and hashtags without letting them colonize your soul? You inhale, feeling the weight of unseen hands resting on your shoulders, and remember a command that glows like a road flare. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. So Romans 12:2, renewal is the slow, steady turning of soil, uprooting old growth so fresh truth can breathe. Resistance, then, is not a clenched fist, but continual cultivation. You begin by recognizing the pattern the world sells: urgency packaged as necessity. An ad suggests your worth is a march of upgrades. A pundit insists outrage proves allegiance. A scroll of images whispers that filtered perfection equates to love. You pause and label each picture seed. Some seeds germinate into gratitude, celebrations of art, glimpses of courage, but many sprout thorns. Before any root descends, you place each seed on the open palm of discernment. Is it lovely? Is it true? Does it nudge you toward compassion or corrosion? If the answers falter, you let the wind of prayer blow the seed away. Resistance also lives in rhythm. You schedule digital fasts as farmers rest fields. A brief walk beneath swaying trees resets neural pathways frayed by screen glare. While the streetlight cycles, you practice a breath liturgy. 4 counts in, Lord be. 4 counts out, my filter. This simple exhale dislodges the chatter's hook. When conversation turns to cynicism at lunchtime, you answer with gentle curiosity, steering the current toward hope rather than diving into the undertow. At times, resistance requires assertive barricades. A show everyone raves about trades purity for mockery. You decline the invitation without disdain, choosing instead a book whose pages smell like quiet rivers. An algorithm peppers you with tailored temptation. You mute, unfollow, unsubscribe. Each click feels small, yet you sense angelic applause as cluttered corridors in your mind clear, making room for sacred whisper. Still, resistance is incomplete if it remains defensive. You counter the world by amplifying an alternate melody. You hum hymns while driving, letting truth vibrate through the dashboard. You leave a handwritten blessing on a co-worker's desk, a counter tweet of kindness no algorithm predicted. You support artisans whose craft honors dignity, investing money like seed into soil that will bear justice. These acts turn the passive posture of avoidance into active proclamation. There is a better kingdom, and you belong to it. Occasionally the din breaches your walls. An angry email pierces calm. A tragic headline leaves you raw. Rather than retreating into numbness, you bring the noise to the shepherd who negotiates storms with a single word: peace. You read the article aloud to him, release the hurt, and listen for instructions. Sometimes he says act, write, donate, volunteer. Other times he says rest. Trust that his sovereignty outpaces breaking news. Either answer becomes an act of faith that silences fear's amplifier. By dusk you realize resistance has not depleted you. It has sharpened joy. Freed from incessant comparison, you relish the weight of a ceramic mug, the laughter of a child across the street, the halo of sunset igniting apartment windows. Noise subsides, sacred whisper swells, steady as a pulse, reminding you that reality is deeper than headlines, identity sturdier than metrics, destiny brighter than neon. With that assurance echoing, you prepare to let this inner radiance spill beyond your own life, becoming a witness the weary cannot ignore. At late afternoon, sunlight tilts like honey across sidewalks, and every polished surface answers with a quiet gleam. You sense that same brightness rising from within, an overflow of cleansed sight, guarded heart, tempered speech, resolute choices, and practiced resistance. Purity was never meant to remain hidden. It longs to spill outward, tainting the ordinary with holy color until strangers feel lighter without knowing why. Your very presence becomes a window, letting heaven's daybreak brush earthbound rooms. You begin, simply, by noticing people the way dawn noticed you, softly yet fully. The cashier whose eyes flicker with wariness, the courier threading traffic, the neighbor balancing groceries, each carries an unseen story, and your attentive gaze affirms its worth. A word of genuine thanks, a door steadied, a listening pause in hurried chatter. These small lenses refract mercy across their path. The effect is subtle yet stunning, like sea, glass flickering sun on a quiet beach. Radiance also travels through excellence when you labor with integrity, checking figures twice, wiping counters you did not soil, completing tasks no audit will cite. You testify that unseen moments are sacred ground. Colleagues begin to expect honesty. Where shortcuts once thrived, students lean into learning because your enthusiasm proves truth is joyful, not grim. Without a slogan, you invite others to taste water that runs clear. Yet light draws moths as well as travelers. Some will question motives, mistake gentleness for weakness, or try to dim your lamp with cynicism. When that comes, remember brilliance is proven by endurance, not applause. You answer mockery with quiet consistency as stars keep burning beyond factory smoke. Even setback can intensify glow, like a prism. Adversity bends brightness into new colors. Compassion for the wounded, patience amid delay, courage in ambiguity. To keep shining, you return often to the source. A whispered, "Filter me again," while washing dishes, a glance at twilight clouds, recalling hands that shaped them. A bedtime gratitude litany, each moment refuels the lamp so oil never runs dry. In this rhythm, witness becomes second nature. You no longer try to be luminous, you simply are. And what of impact? You may never trace every beam that departs from your life, but heaven maps each one. A child catches your smile and decides kindness is safe. A teammate recalls your fairness and chooses honesty in a hard report. A stranger overhears your calm and seeks peace for years afterward. The kingdom grows like dawn, silently, steadily, pushing shadows to the margins until morning becomes inevitable. As evening lamps flicker on, you look back at corridors walked and see faint trails of gold. Not perfection, but sincerity. Not blinding spotlight, but steadfast glow. You whisper thanks that the world's grime did not cling today, and you entrust whatever dull spots remain to tomorrow's cleansing stream. Then you rest, knowing that while you sleep the light still travels, carrying your day's witness into places your feet have never trod. Pause now and breathe as dawn steps once more across the threshold of your mind. Let the hush gather 6 luminous lessons: clarity, fortitude, grace, wisdom, courage, and lingering light. Hold these bright stones in your palm, feel their warmth, then lay them before the one who formed them. Trust him to weave them through every hour ahead, stirring hope in each soul you meet and guiding your heart home by nightfall. Rest in that promise, confident that daylight drips with mercy and that tomorrow will bring fresh cleansing streams. Soak, sing,